we should do.
start.
I should make each of us a Disney princess at some point for the
please
opening.
do.
I'm so excited for this.
40th episode.
Sorry, random
Sorry.
ideas.
Episode 40 is going to be a shit show. Just
It's
saying.
going to be amazing.
Hello and welcome to the Gamebrew Podcast, episode 38. I am your host, Ian Andwin Rin Richard, and I'm joined by Chris Thrall Wrights,
For Doomhammer.
Illidan Stormrage Rots,
I should say, you are not prepared.
and Allison Alexstrasza Van Defender.
Yes, champions.
This week, in the first half of the podcast, we'll discuss our recent return to the World of Warcraft, and in the second half, we'll discuss whether MMOs are built to fail. But first, it's time for a beer. Chris, what's the deal with this week?
So this week we're doing something a little different. So we all started new characters on the same server for WoW, and we've tried to get beers that match our classes. So I have the Rogue Dead Guy Ale, which makes sense because I've been playing a rogue.
Hey, Chris. What is WoW? Johnny Two Hammers asked me about it. You know, he's kind of our everyman
Well,
friend, Johnny Two Hammers.
he would like being a Fury Warrior or maybe an Enhancement Shaman, I think.
Yeah, but what?
But WoW is World of Warcraft. It's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game.
Wow. There you go. You got through all the letters.
I did. There's like 5 or 6 of them. And so that basically means that it's a cooperative RPG that you can play with your friends. And
No one's ever
fun.
heard of it before. It's pretty
Yeah,
indie
it's
title.
it's a pretty small game.
It's an indie game.
Yeah, so I've been playing a druid, so I picked up Firestone Walker's it's from the Leo versus Ursus line. So Firestone Walker does this thing where they have like essentially like microbrews that they only do once a year, actually once ever, and they rotate throughout the year. So this year's current Leo versus Ursus, which is a lion versus a bear, hence the druid thing going on.
I like that.
that's
That works
really
really
good.
well. I
Yeah,
compliment you on that pick, sir.
It's called Wookus, and it's an Imperial Black IPA. So I'm
Nice.
getting ready to just have it hammer my mouth right now. It's going to be super fun.
You know what? Imperial Black IPAs are really yummy.
I'm super excited for it. It's got a really great rating on Beer Advocate, and it smells delicious. It smells like an IPA, but it looks like an Imperial Stout. So it's a little bit intimidating, but I'm really excited for it.
Have you not taken a sip yet?
I
Did we
haven't.
pop?
We were like, I asked Chris what was going on, so there wasn't like it was more like a what's going on, Chris,
Okay.
and he's
Well,
like,
How about we
I
all
popped
announce,
during
and then
my-
you can drink, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
okay.
okay,
So,
yeah.
Ian, pop it.
I did. I popped
Twist
it in a
it.
glass. Lock it. Wait,
Down,
pull
down,
it.
down, 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 down. Bop it. Pass it.
Twist it.
that game came out like the same year that WoW did. I'm pretty sure.
Bop it.
Seems about right.
Which is more popular? You decide. I'm going to start a poll this week. Which is more popular, WoW or Bop It?
What's more addicting? Wow, or bop it.
Dan, what are you drinking, buddy?
So I have 2. So I'm going to tell you about the first one because I couldn't pick. I found some and I thought they like fit my stuff. So
Is one for like one spec and one for another spec? Is like
no, it's just they
Cross-
both kind of like they fit together. I couldn't find something because I'm a mage, you know, like who uses magic. I slap people with magic from far away. And I couldn't really find something that was like a magey beer. But I did find something that was cool for 2 reasons. One is, so I'm drinking, for the first half, Hocus Pocus Wheat Ale by
Nice.
Magic Hat.
That's a good pull.
So, yeah,
Very
it's from their
good.
summer sampler pack, which I found somewhere because it's almost not summer anymore.
It's like basically Oktoberfest.
Yeah, but it's
God.
but it's like it's pretty crisp. Popped it.
Twist it.
It's definitely oh god. It's definitely wheaty. It's very light. It is not a high ABV. Has 26 IBUs. Yeah, it's only 4.5% alcohol by volume, so I will feel nice tomorrow morning. which is good.
I'm
And then
fun.
during the second half, I'll tell you what I'm drinking on that one. So
Allison, you're being very
Magic,
classy
magic.
and drinking tea this evening, aren't you?
Yeah, and I regret it all. So I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to drink hard liquor from now on.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Well,
God.
And
Well, can you tell us why?
Okay, so I picked. I'm playing a shaman, and specifically healing. But in WoW, the highest ranking, most powerful and wise shaman are called Farseers.
yeah.
So I grabbed a. Well, I've had this in my shelf for a while to try. It's called Third Eye Chakra, Buddha brand tea, and it's miserable for me because I didn't realize how heavy the mint was going to be in it.
Oh, it's minty. Oh,
Oh yeah, it's like drinking toothpaste, and I'm not feeling it.
that's not good.
I'm not feeling it. So,
So
it
you're,
has.
so you're respecking?
I'm respecting. It's like
Respecting
it,
at the game brew.
it's got jasmine flower, which I generally like jasmine things, light jasmine flavor. And it has. I don't know. I'm going to pronounce this wrong.
Is that your favorite Disney princess too?
Actually, it was until Mulan. Then Mulan took over.
Nice.
Star anise. Is that how you guys pronounce it? Is that
Star
right?
Anise.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard
Anus.
it both ways. I don't know.
Anise.
That's too
It's
close-
Not,
that's
it's
too
not
close to
anise,
that for
it's
me.
Anise.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
always
like it.
anise.
Star anus.
And then passion flower. But literally, all I'm getting is spearmint.
Just
And it's-
mint.
Yeah, and
Mint's
allegedly,
super overpowering in like teas, especially.
right. Allegedly, this is infused with the essence of sapphire. Just so you know.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but the box
They
swears.
ground up some rocks? Like,
It
No, I think
means
they just
no.
dip it in there.
You get plus 10 to
Essence.
crit when you infuse with.
oh, it's gemmed.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
gemmed.
It's
Yeah,
gemmed.
there we
means
go.
that. So, for those of
Clearly.
you who are wondering, that means whenever you put that gem in it, it does 10
socking
more than
Suck it.
these.
Speaking
of
a
socket.
WoW thing. Everyone should play with us, and we'll explain all these things to them in game in our guild, and everyone can play on Eldrithalis with us.
Yeah, if you play WoW, go to Eldrithalis and look for what's it? The Gamebrew Crew. It's all separate words, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Horde
Yeah.
side.
Yep. And then
Then we'll
we will let
explain
you in.
socketing all day.
It's a pretty great guild. You'll love it. Chris, how's your beer, man?
It's good. It's a German Maibach style. And it's almost 7% alcohol, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's hefty.
It's a good drinking beer though. Like I could drink a lot of these.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about mine, is that it's like, this is a pretty bitter IPA, and that's not an insult. I kind of like them that way. And it's got like a smoky finish because of the toasted malt, but it's also got a little bit of chocolate on it. So it's like impressively drinkable for an Imperial IPA. It's nice.
Yeah, usually sometimes Imperial IPAs can get they can be a lot.
This one, it's only 8.4, I think, ABV.
Well, I'm also talking about just like their hop content. Like sometimes
yeah,
it's just like
it's
a lot.
It's a lot.
It's super hoppy, but it's also quite drinkable.
Quite drinkable.
Indeed.
So let's talk about what we've been playing, and
It's surprise. It's WoW.
surprise, it's WoW. So what happened is, a couple weeks back, I was like, look, guys, I really love y'all, and I feel like we've just kind of been playing our own games for a little while, and we kind of had fractured, and we weren't really doing stuff together, even though we were all playing games. And I was like, what is something that we can come together on and play? And so we put up a poll. Yes, this is where I propose to all of you.
Oh my god, is that why you're on one knee right now?
I'm down on one knee. Okay.
Oh my
so
God.
I just needed to get these feelings off of my chest.
Oh god.
You
I don't
all
know how
are
you
my
afforded all
rock.
those rings. They're
Yeah, those
amazing. Wow.
Crafting. I took jewel crafting as my.
Oh, I can
Yeah.
use a sugar daddy, so this is gonna work
so-
great.
So I was like, we should do something together. I put up a poll on the Slack. We had a bunch of great ideas. Like GTA was in there. What else was in there in the Slack thing?
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter, the PC
Conan
Monster Hunter
Exiles.
World, Conan Exiles.
Conan.
And like by series of elimination, we just ended up choosing WoW. And so we're all back. We're all back and playing WoW. So we wanted to talk about what our experiences were like. And I want to go to Chris first. So Chris, you've said before about WoW that you love it until it starts to feel like a job. So you've been back for 2 weeks, a week and a half. Do you
About
feel
3
like
weeks,
it's a
I guess.
job yet?
So
Oh,
the thing
no!
about WoW,
Oh, no!
no. So the thing about WoW is that you can either play other games or you can play WoW, and I feel like there's not really a lot of in between. So I basically haven't played any other game
Except
other than
for
WoW
Yeah.
for 3 weeks. And that's fine because there's a lot to do and it's a lot of fun, especially when you have other people joining you doing it. That being said, it also is kind of depressing knowing that I'm only playing just WoW.
Right.
And I guess part of it is because I'm paying $15 a month for it that I feel obligated to play. Yeah.
Do you feel obligated to play it? That doesn't sound like people don't describe having fun. You're like, I feel obligated to have fun right now. That's not usually how people have fun. Are you having fun?
No, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not trying to say I'm not having fun. I'm just saying like I
Good,
feel
'cause you
obligated
have
to
no
play
choice.
WoW instead of playing other video games. I'm still playing video games, so therefore I'm still having fun.
It's kind of like being in a bowling league. It's like sometimes you don't want to go bowling, but you gotta because you're in the league.
Right, exactly. It's kind of
Right.
like that. It's just like bowling.
It's wow. It's
Wow.
just like bowling. Don't take that slogan, Blizzard. We are copywriting it.
Gamebrew fact, and that's ours.
Put it
Dan?
in the thing. Yes.
Dan, I was going to say, are there other ways that you feel like it's like bowling other than like you kind of have to do it, but you kind of like to do it?
It's like bowling in that sometimes you can knock things over from far away if you're a mage like me.
You have to have a team.
It's like bowling in that it's more fun if you do it with beer. And pizza is readily available.
What brought you to choose a mage? And like, what's your past experience with WoW too?
So I have played WoW, World of Warcraft. I have played up to level 20 on a bunch of different characters because I never wanted to pay the subscription fee for it. So I just kept doing the free trial with fake email addresses over and over again.
Nice. Okay, hold on. Pause. And so, Chris, how long have you been playing, and like, what's your experience with WoW?
How long have I been playing?
Yeah, like, what's the most you've ever done with it?
So in college, I played a lot. I was raiding pretty heavily. And that was during the second
A
expansion.
raid is a thing where you go with all of your friends and you raid stuff.
Wrath
You can't
of the Lich
use the
King.
word
Great
in the
explanation.
definition. So I spent a good amount of time playing WoW a couple of years ago, and like I every so often I go back, but that was my most time. I would just for fun on my first character. I looked up how long I've played on it, and he's about 30 days.
Oh, I forgot about
Game
stage
time.
Wow.
So I also played most heavily in Wrath of the Lich King, and then maybe like I raided like once, and then I was out, and then Allison.
I'm mathing. Okay, so I played when I was in high school, beginning of high school.
You're doing so good, Dan.
And I think it was 2005. I think. It was not right when the game launched, and I think it launched in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I played a little bit after that on dial-up in vanilla back in the day, and it was misery. But I still did it because I loved it, and my friends played, and I played a rogue so I could vanish whenever I lagged really bad and didn't know what was happening.
That's kind of brilliant.
And literally just waited, and after the lag stopped, I hoped I wasn't dead.
So you've been around for a while. Did you ever get to raiding?
Oh, yeah. I rated pretty heavily for a while.
During which expansion?
Oh, man, I wish Carrie was here. During Wrath of the Lich King, I guess is when we were raiding really hardcore.
Name every expansion to World of Warcraft. Go.
Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, and then we're in
Almost.
Battle for Azeroth.
Yay!
Yeah.
Wow, Chris, well done, sir. So we have kind of a broad range of experiences, what I was getting at. Some of us have played more, some of us have played less. And so, Dan, do you feel like, based on, what level are you now?
I am level 42. The answer
Dan,
to the
you're
life,
level
the universe, and
42.
everything.
Do you feel like you're getting $15 a month out of being level 42?
So far, I am. I feel like. Hold on, there's kitties being fed. by the robot overlords. I think it's done. Okay. I think I am so far. I agree with what Chris said about it, where it's like it kind of like feels like that's what I have to do. You know,
Well,
like
right.
I come home from work, get on WoW, see who's on. But that's kind of the thing is like this is like a sit and talk in your buddies game, where it's like if you're
It's
on
true.
and somebody else is on, it's like, hey, what are you doing? I was just questing. Cool, me too. And you're just doing quests and eating and doing stuff like that.
I agree. I really like that it's something that I can play and it doesn't take up so much headspace right now that I can't like have an actual conversation. I love being in a dungeon and just like having an opportunity to shoot the shit with you guys. I think it's great.
It is.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know what it is, and I guess maybe because it doesn't take, unless you're doing end game content, it doesn't really take 100% of your brain power to do. Mm-hmm. So it's a great like way to build community and just hang out with people. And
Yeah, especially if you use something called macros, which is like...
have you built any macros yet?
I did. I built
Nice.
one. It literally does... I press one key and it does like a string of attacks that I normally do with like 4 different buttons. Macros means like you can like set it so, oh yeah, you press this thing, it does this thing the amount of times, and then goes to this other thing. You can also set it to like do text or something.
Kiss, hello.
Yeah, or something
I
like that. But like, yeah, so literally like we were doing dungeons and I was just sitting there. I was like, I'm just pressing the equals key over and over again. That's really all I have to do. and it works. It's fun.
Allison, do you did all of this rating. You kind of have a really deep experience with the game. 2 questions. Number 1, how do you feel about the current state of the game in comparison to previous expansions? And number 2, when you're chilling out with us with like our level, 30 through 50-ish characters, do you feel like you're just like hanging out in the kiddie pool? Is it like not cool, or are we having fun?
So here's I'm going to answer your second part first. Because I actually, it was funny, I talked to Carrie in depth about this because she's been playing with us and I used to play with her way back in the day, and we were talking about how good it feels playing again, and we've tried multiple times to get back into this game. Every time there's an expansion, we come back and we give it another go, and we are okay with it, but this time we've actually had the most fun we've had since we originally were playing together and, had that guild that we were playing with regularly. And it has that old feeling, and it's honestly, it doesn't have as much to do with the game as it does with you guys. Like,
Aww.
like playing with you all, it's just, you have to have those people that you enjoy playing with that are fun and you guys goof, but you get things done. And, you have to have that community. Otherwise, this game is pretty drab.
That's a good
That's actually
buzzword.
something that I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you mentioned it. Since we've started playing WoW, our usual Discord, which is usually like, the 4 or 5 of us, has expanded by at least like 2 or 3 or sometimes more people when people just pick up like, oh, you're playing, oh, I'll come play WoW too. Like there's something about the game that is very inclusive. And I think that's valuable in a way that's hard to reflect on a spreadsheet or like with a stat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's honestly why I really hope, and if people listen and they have desire to play this game or they play this game already, I really hope you'll kind of join our guild. Not for any reason other than it builds a really solid, fun community, and I'd love to see that happen in some way.
And the guild achievements also.
And
so
guild
many
achievements.
guild achievements.
No, yeah, that's my secret motive.
I'll make you some shirts because I can tailor. I made Chris a bunch of shirts. Ian, did I make you any shirts?
You didn't make me any shirts. It was like Christmas when Grandma didn't give me a sweatshirt.
It's okay. I'll make you some shirts. Or do you want some bags? I'll make you some pants. How about pants?
Pants would be great.
Yeah. Dan made me bracers. He hasn't made me a shirt. Rude. But definitely with my experience, like playing back then, I was never what I called an elitist with it. I was never the like, I'm only having fun if I'm doing the most serious hardcore content, getting the best gear, progressing heavily with my guild. Like I I liked the community. I liked leveling. I liked the lore of the game. I liked pet battling. I liked all those things that I get to do with you guys at low level. So I really don't care as much about the end game, although I want to get there with you all and do it. Like,
have you paid attention to the lore that's going on currently for the new expansion?
I haven't. And the reason I haven't is it's super intentional because I want to get to the end game before I really see them. And a couple things have gotten spoiled for me, and it's sad. So I'm trying not to do that.
So maybe we shouldn't talk about it, I guess. But it's really interesting.
Oh, I mean, we can. No, go ahead, because most of it's probably been spoiled.
The biggest thing is that Sylvanas burned down Teldrassil.
That's the one that
I kind of figured.
Spoiler alert!
Blizzard released this as a video. I don't feel like maybe for people like Allison, but that's a pretty big deal because for a long time, especially when the Horde was young, back in like Warcraft days or like Warcraft 2 days, like people sort of like saw them as like the evil side or something. And part of what's great about the later Warcraft games, and especially World of Warcraft, is that the Horde is just another set of people, and they're not necessarily evil at all. And so Sylvanas burning down Teldrassil has sort of had this toxic effect on the relationship between the Horde and the Alliance in an interesting way.
Yeah, but there's like things in the story that I feel like I talk about my brother with this sometimes, where he really doesn't like to read stuff. And so sometimes whenever you're playing games, you're like, oh, there's a lot of text here. I don't care. I'm just going to keep going. I feel like I do that a lot with World of Warcraft, where I keep going. Like I do a quest or like there's something that happens. I'm just like, I don't care.
Whatever. Give me the points.
I just want to go kill some stuff. Yeah, give me. I want DXP. Give me DXP. So I feel like I do that a lot, but I don't know if that would change like in the later game stuff.
So something I've kind of noticed between when I played before and when I'm playing now, and also doing the older content versus I've been doing a lot more of the newer stuff too with my higher level characters, is that the quest design is just way better. And so I think they understand now that people aren't going to read all that shit. Mm-hmm. And so they, instead of just telling you a lot of the times, they're going to show you, and almost force you to make like to understand like the bigger pieces that are going for it, especially like with major plot lines. The last two, I just started doing some of the Legion content today, and they started off both this and the previous expansion by having these kind of bigger story missions that you have to do before you can go do the rest of the content. And so that kind of frames everything and shows you where everything's going.
Yeah, it's definitely right. Like with I was going to say it started with Legion, really, where they started really heavily doing that, because it did at that point. There were just so many quests to get to where you needed to go that nobody felt like reading it. And the lore has always been so huge in WoW that I'm glad that they stop at the important pieces and are like, yeah you're going to want to look at it. You got to
listen to this. Hey, you should pay attention because some stuff's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's just better quest design also. Just they're showing instead of just telling.
Right.
Questing. So that's one of the things you can do in WoW is to go on quests like by yourself or with buddies to like gain XP, murder. It's like those are usually like the murder this many things or collect this many things or talk to this guy at this place. What else is there? There's
go find my cat.
Yeah, true. Go find my cat. I made my Dungeons and Dragons crew do that. They had to go find a cat named Bork Bork and a dog named
Well, but that's
was it a tabaxi or was it like an actual cat?
No, it was a real cat. It was just a cat. One of the characters has unintentionally become a pet detective just because he keeps going to this board where there's always missing pets, and he's just like, I'm just gonna go find this bird now, I guess. So
that's awesome.
But so quests are a thing you can do. You can also do dungeons, which are kind of like a little. How would you describe? I mean,
5-man groups going into a closed.
A closed area by yourselves and defeating the big monsters. And you get little monsters before you get there.
The BBEG.
Yeah.
The big bad evil guy, is that what that stands for?
And then there's also, of course, the suite of professions that you can take part in and build those up, as well as trying to get rich on the auction house. So I think we're going to wrap this section up by asking the question to each of us. Do you feel like you're getting your $15 worth a month? Keeping in mind that you could buy a new game every month on Steam for $15, and that might make you happier, or might not. But I'm just asking the question. You feel like you're getting your money's worth? I'll go to Allison first.
I am. I really am. And I'm somebody who doesn't really have the extra funds to spend on games right now. But I can pay for this game in gold, so I can farm. That's something you can do now. So that's pretty cool. But more importantly, and this is going to sound cheesy as shit, and I don't mean to, genuinely,
go for it.
Genuinely, I have had more fun playing this game with you guys, even in the little time that I have to play with you guys. It's been the best moments of my week, so thanks. Worth every $15.
There's gonna be such sad music playing at this point.
Also, nobody else can answer no now because that just invalidates you having fun with Allison. So just keep that in mind.
No, it's fine. You can have other opinions. That's just mine.
All right, Dan.
I'm gonna. So far, yes, because it's fun. I've been spending more time with it than some things I've paid more money for.
Sorry, my bad.
I forgot the name of the game.
Absolver.
Yes. Oh goodness gracious! What a gem.
2. Anyway,
Vermintide 2.
No, Vermintide 2
is fucking great. I'm just saying Dan doesn't play it.
It's true, I don't. But so far it is. But I always tend to be a bigger fan of things that I can pay, like if I'm paying monthly for it, like Netflix. I'm a big fan of that. The gym, yes. I like to get swole, as they say. I know none of you can see me, but I'm super jacked, if you can imagine.
Dan, I didn't realize I had purchased tickets to the gun
Huge.
show when I came to the podcast.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you please put your shirt back on? This
damn.
is
I'm
weird.
sorry.
Did you use a whole bottle of oil on yourself?
Just half one. It's fine.
I don't know. So far, it's like kind of nice because there's just so much content too. Like the Dark Moon Fair is happening right now, which is like there's literally like fair games that you can play and just get tickets to get by winning stuff at those fair games. It's like dumb and silly, and I love it. I love goofy shit like that. So,
Chris, you getting your $15 worth?
Right now, yes. So I was very wary to get back into playing WoW again, just because
if anyone
it's
needed
like reintroducing.
To know, we basically drug
it's like
Chris.
It's like having recovering of being an alcoholic, and it's being like, oh well, you can just go to the bar one night. No, you can't.
it's fine.
You cannot. So right now I am, and I there's nothing I've enjoyed more. And one of the reasons I came back, and one of the reasons I play a rogue, is because I like to play a rogue in PvP. Just because I like having a bunch of people play rogues or druids with me, and we can all stealth. So basically, when you stealth, you're invisible to other people, and you can just jump on the enemy. And if you have like 2 or 3 people doing that, you basically can just troll anyone, and it's a lot of fun for us.
Not for them. Not for them.
And I don't know. I just really enjoy that. So right now that's worth $15 a month to me.
Cool, man. And yeah, I would say I'm getting my $15 a month out of it too. I'm kind of on the same page with Allison. We're like, yeah, it's the game, but it's also the fact that we're coming together using the game as kind of a nexus through which to connect. And that's really special, and you don't get that with everything. You know, we can't talk about our lives and our struggles while we're playing Overwatch because we're too busy getting pissed off at
saying, "Where's the heels? Where's the heels?"
I need
there's something to that. Okay, that's going to be it for the first half of the show. When we come back, we will talk about MMOs and whether or not they are built to fail. Stick with us.
Hey, it's Chris from the Gamebrew. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. You guys are the best. We'd love to hear from you, so don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Gamebrew. That's one word. While you're at it, why not click that share button so your friends can have a listen too? Oh, and if you're hankering to buy some new games, why not support a charity of your choice and us all at the same time? Go check out Humble Bundle through the link bit.ly/gamebrew, that's bit.ly/gamebrew, and see what deals they got going on. Well, I guess that's enough shameless self-promoting. On to the second half of the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Gamebrew podcast. How's everybody doing? Good.
Good.
Let's check in with those beers, those drinks. They sitting good?
Oh yeah, I have another one.
Dan's
I have
got
a second
part two.
one. The second one.
So prepared.
So
He's respecking.
I'm respecking my no, but this is the second beer that I chose. It's by Wicked Weed Brewing Company. It is called Pernicious. Basically, what it says is pernicious influences. I'm sorry, blah blah.
Who
really?
lives in a glass house,
The
Dan?
suspense.
He who lives in a glass house.
It's me. I throw lots of stones. Pernicious influences harm us in ways we rarely notice. This beer's balanced brightness insidiously ruins your expectations for all their IPAs. It's like tropical, but it's like the definition of the word pernicious is it harms you like over time and you don't really notice it. And that's like, oh, that's kind of like what I do as a mage is I just harm things over time. But also like the labels like this purple and green like kind of stuff. And my mage has lots of magic that's purple. So I was like, I just looked at it and I was like, ooh, that's cool. It's a really tropically IPA, which is
I've
really
decided
yummy.
that Wookiss is a really great beer for when you don't want to drink much beer, but you want to have lots of the taste of beer. Like I'm not into like destroying this. Like I'm not even halfway through it, and usually at this point I'm on beer number 2. But I'm enjoying it. I just don't want to drink a ton of it, and that's fine.
You'll feel better in the morning.
True. It's been a rough weekend. I gotta tell y'all about yesterday at some point.
You don't want to tell our listeners?
No, not on the air. Sorry, this is
Sorry,
an
listeners.
off-air
It's a
conversation.
little too racy.
Chris, what about you?
It's a good drinking beer, man. I told you, it's a German Maybach.
German Maybach. And Allison, you're never drinking that tea again, are you?
No, I'm not. I have a whole box of it, and I will mail it to anyone who wants it.
So, are you drinking anything different?
You could do.
No,
You could use it.
I stayed sitting.
You could use it to like make your clothes smell minty fresh. Just put it in your dresser
I
drawers.
could.
You just
Like
toss it
liquid
behind you. Like,
toothpaste is amazing. I put like a ton of wildflower honey in it, trying to help, and it's just not helping.
now it just tastes like minty honey.
Yeah, I tried. I'm not digging this. It doesn't have caffeine, which is nice for bedtime, but that's the only win.
So sure, right? MMOs, they can be a huge cash cow for publishers, but they can also be huge failures. Do you all remember that amazing Halo MMO with the like incredibly large $90 million production budget?
I do not.
Yeah, that's because it never released because it failed before it even got out of the studio.
Was that seriously a thing?
Dude, seriously a thing. Also, Final Fantasy XIV totally tanked before Realm Reborn. We'll talk about it. Star Wars Galaxy tanks. Terra tanked pretty fast.
Star Wars Galaxy did not tank. It just stopped being a thing.
Okay, so we'll talk.
It had a very successful run.
I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Those 3 months were great.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
Wait,
the
why think of a
past
different game?
You're thinking of SWOTOR.
You're
You're
talking
thinking
of
of Star
SWOTOR.
Wars. The Old
No.
Republic.
I'm thinking it was before SWOTOR.
Star Wars Galaxies is like 2008 to 2011, 2012, something like that. In any case, the past
Star Wars Galaxies was in 2003.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The past of MMOs is modeled with failures. And so the question is, are MMORPGs built to fail? Are they a genre that is inherently risky in a way that makes them less likely to be made?
That seems like such a weird idea to like think about them, just because the scope of them is so large.
Yeah.
Like MMORPGs, number one, massively is the first word in that, or the first word in that acronym. Like spending so much time crafting these worlds and making these worlds, and then they just don't. And then if it just doesn't pan out, then like what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like chip it in, or you gonna roll with the punches?
I think that's kind of a part of it, because they know they need people for these games to be successful. So the companies a lot of time will either kind of do a shtick of some nature. Like, this is the thing that's special about us versus the ones you've played.
Terra.
And then it doesn't meet that expectation that they've set. Or that's all there is, and there's nothing else. Because with games like MMORPGs, you have to have the total package. And if you don't have the total package, you're not going to get the masses to play, and they're not going to play for long enough.
Right, because they're incredibly expensive to build. And one of the other, like, honestly, you know, having played WoW fairly seriously recently, one of the other things is, like, all that stuff that Allison is talking about, having a variety of things to do, great questing, PvP, like, all these things were built onto WoW over time as, like, different modules almost. And it's expected of every other RPG that when they release to have the same amount of content and even more polish. And I think that's a really tough bar to pass in order to be quote unquote successful in terms of an MMORPG.
I think that the MMOs that have done the best job of succeeding in the WoW-centric landscape of MMOs have been the ones that are kind of specializing in one thing and really doing that really well. Because, like you said, WoW's so big and has been around for so long and has had such a high production value that it's hard to compete with it in everything. You cannot. WoW has good PvP, pretty good PvP. It has good end game content. It's got decent questing, and it's got just a ton of stuff to do and a ton of content.
An incredible lore.
But like games like, I think Guild Wars 2 has had a decent community for a pretty long time because they're better at world PvP, I think. And
I think that's true. Guild Wars 2 also has some really, also in Guild Wars 1 did the same thing where they had combat that's much more interactive than WoW combat is. There's like a dodging mechanic and much more canceling mechanics that are active in Guild Wars 2 that makes it a little bit feel more like an adventure game.
Also, wasn't Guild Wars free to play? Like, you bought the game, but wasn't it?
Guild Wars 2 was,
That's
after
right.
That? Yeah.
Yep.
Because I remember
and
that being.
A lot of games have switched to that like kind of thing where you pay money for more like cosmetic stuff, and it's a free to play game once you buy the game.
Well, a lot of them have gotten free to play, but the issues there is they very obviously suffer from it. Or they need to make money somehow to function, so they end up being pay to win. Tree of Savior was one of those I tried, and I was so excited about it. It looked really good. The art style was great, and then it was so heavily pay to win that they really hardcore lost me.
That's tough whenever it's like the free versus the pay stuff. But there's like Star Wars: The Old Republic, another Star Wars game. They initially started out just like WoW. They were like, oh, it's $15 a month to access all the content, but then eventually it became free to play because they were losing interest in it, I think, because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to do at the end. Star Wars: The Old Republic is built very much so around the player versus enemy type, the PvE stuff. Once you run out of that, it's like, what else am I going to do? So they made it free to play, so more people would come in, but you could get more stuff by paying for it, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. I actually played that game at launch, and that was one of the reasons I stopped playing was that Star Wars: The Old Republic didn't have good endgame. It had really good questing, and that was something that it was made by BioWare, who made the Mass Effect games
and Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic. Yep. So there was a heavy emphasis on questing and making like branching quests, and so I think that took up a lot of their time. And it was good, but then once you got to the end, that was the end.
One of the things that I think ends up driving people away from MMOs, or at least something that's driven me away from MMOs in the past, isn't just like quest structure or not enough content, but that it often feels like there's a huge world, but not a whole lot of ways to interact with it. And that's one of the things that always ends up kind of pushing me away. And it's also one of the things that I really loved about Elder Scrolls Online that is not quite as good in other places. Like, I feel like ESO does a good job of giving you sort of a variety of things to do. inside their universe. Whereas like WoW, it's at least right now, it's very much like get the exclamation point, do the things, go back to the question mark.
Well, what exactly is there different in ESO? Like, I played some ESO, I haven't played a ton, but like, I mean, it felt basically the same, where you were just going from one hub to another, collecting the quests, doing the quests, turning them in.
I think
going to the next hub.
ESO, the big thing for me is that like they took a little bit more time with the open world concept and made it so that like you could go to this place and like do a little like dungeon exploration, and then if there was a like a mini player battle open world thing over, you could go do that, and they were all icons on the map, so it felt like you could sort of choose what you wanted to do more than like you have to go here and do this set of things and then go here and do that set of things. But still, I think even that game struggled with the basically you like are killing things or you're picking up stuff, and those are the two things that you do in the game. And I just kind of wish that MMOs would do that, because there's a world there and I want to interact with the world.
I think it'll get better for you towards endgame and WoW too with that.
Yeah, I agree with Allison. There's a lot of older content that you're going through right now that, I mean, they got better with quests later on.
Yeah,
so
especially
I think the quests are a lot better. But what I was going to remind myself, I was reminded of in Guild Wars 2, and I think in the Warhammer Online game, there were these really cool events where you would basically like an event would appear and like a bunch of people could go over to that event and basically participate in that limited time event. That was like a quest, or kill this one big guy that was showing up and just ravaging a town or something like that.
Yeah.
And I love like, those like...
Destiny 2 did that. Whenever you'd be like in the world, like stuff would just drop in and be like, oh, hey, let's go fight this thing.
Right.
Yeah, I like those. I feel like they're like because there's like a time limit and you got to go over there and do it. I wish WoW had more of those. I feel like there's not a ton, if any.
Right.
Not really.
I actually,
really.
Chris, I'm glad you brought up the Warhammer. So this is Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning.
Yeah, I would have played that game.
And
I loved Warhammer.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a game that had an incredible body of lore behind it. It had a super dedicated fan base, but it wasn't a super successful MMO. And so the question is why? What about it didn't lead to players sticking around?
I mean, I was interested in playing it. I played like a free version of it before it got turned off, and it had some really cool things where they would do big events with all the servers, and so like depending on how like the good side versus the evil side did on that server would affect other servers, like, and different things like that. So they had like really cool ideas, but I think it was just like the content wasn't there, like the same thing with Star Wars: The Old Republic.
I think the other like issue with that is that kind of came out and it was a little bit more PvP centric, so player versus player stuff. And that, I know, to me, that can get a little bit daunting.
Have you guys done much PvP in WoW?
I haven't done any. I haven't done any PvP in WoW because I'm so intimidated by it. Like,
why?
I don't know. I don't know why I'm intimidated by it, but people scare me, and that's just how it goes, Christopher.
Keeping with the topic of, you know, MMOs being something that sort of like they're really great or they really fail. What do you think about?
What about love?
Yeah.
Try again.
Well, what I was going to say is, what do you think about the fact that, you know, kind of what Chris said, when he plays WoW, he only plays WoW. Is that something that MMOs have going for them, or is it something that actually keeps people away from MMOs?
It kept me away for a long time.
But it also kept you in for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a mixed basket. So I've tried, I feel like almost every single MMO that's come out. Not all of them, but most of them. And
the big ones.
Yeah, the big ones at least. And even some weird little ones like Tree of Savior. But I definitely feel like I can play other games while I'm playing them, and that doesn't affect me so much. So it's not as huge of a deal. But back when I played WoW seriously, that is all I played, and it was a money investment thing because I was paying for it. But if I'm not paying for it and it's free to play, I really don't care at all.
Yeah. That's kind of the interesting thing. And that's like, if you listen to our last episode when I talked about Anarchy Online, one of the reasons that I got it was because there was no annual, there was no annual fee for it. You would buy it and then you would just play it online. And that was pretty interesting to me, especially because I was a child with no money. But mainly because it was like, it kind of gave me the freedom to not worrying about, like, now I think about, it's like, oh, you know what? Sometimes I'm like, oh, I spent $15. I should really play this game. You know, it's not really there with some of those ones, but that also is a way that kind of keeps you from playing it, because you're like, oh, it's free. I don't have to worry about playing it all the time because it's free, and I don't have to play it anymore because it's free.
Right.
And it's free.
Well, that's actually, it's funny you mentioned like being a child and how that made a certain kind of game appealing to you, because one of the other questions I was thinking about was whether or not MMOs have a limited audience pool from which to draw. That is to say, are there a group of people who are dedicated to playing MMOs, and those are the MMO people, and they will play an MMO and then everybody else doesn't? Or is it really a genre for everybody? Because part of me thinks it's sort of an exclusive club in a way. Like, you have to dedicate a certain amount of time to play it and to get out of it, you know, some feeling of satisfaction or fun. Whereas like you could pick up, you know, a little indie title and bop bop a doo and get in and out and have a good time, and that's it.
Pop up a do.
So are MMOs risky because there's a limited pool of players that stick with them?
I think that it has the perception of being kind of a closed space, but like Allison was saying before, I think the inclusion can help with that a lot. But I think you're right. I think it's kind of similar with Dan not wanting to do PvP. It's just a little daunting, and you don't know why, but there's just like, I mean, if I was a fresh player coming into WoW right now, I feel like it'd be so daunting. There's so much content.
Yeah.
There's so much that you will never see.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's stuff that I've never seen in this game, and I've dedicated at least 2 months of game time to this game in my life.
Like, imagine you woke up on the beginning of July and now you just stopped playing WoW.
Yeah.
So
like there's 30 hours of game time on 2 of my characters.
Right. Exactly.
Or sorry, 30 days of game time on 2 of my
30 days.
characters.
Oh.
Yeah, which is kind of depressing.
Or impressive.
Or impressing. Depressing or impressing.
It's something.
I have another question. We spend an inordinate amount of time in WoW drinking for some reason. Like not like getting wasted in real life, but like getting wasted.
Oh no,
of,
yeah,
like,
drinking kegs in
WoW.
the game.
Why?
Oh, yeah.
Why do we do this?
Because it's fun.
Because drinking is fun.
Because first off, we're the Gamebrew Crew, and we have a reputation to uphold, and I'm upholding it by being absolutely smashed on my character every dungeon we do.
It's fun because you can't walk straight.
Secondly, and my screen's fuzzy, and I
She's
don't
only
really
the one
know
who
what's going
heals
on, and I'm
everybody.
hoping for
It's
the best.
fine.
But
It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine, guys. You're in safe hands. But the second off, we're doing this with Carrie, and she has a bunch of little like toys and odds and ends she can drop, and she has like 4 different kegs, so they're coming up all the time.
There was one time I got
reason.
on, and I was too late for it, but they just had a kegger in the middle of like in Orgrimmar, which is like one of the hub cities.
Yeah,
So-
we had umbrellas up and 4 kegs out, and we had like a picnic basket, and we were drawing people in. And
Yeah, people literally were just coming up and drinking the kegs and just being drunk, spewing animated puke everywhere.
Like you do.
we were
As
just
you
talking to
do.
each other. and that's something that like kind of lends to your last question, which was like, is it an elite club? Yes and no. I think MMOs sound scary. They sound like they're an elite club, and if you're not a serious gamer, you can't play it. But it's all about how the person who makes the MMO builds the community. That's what, to me at least, will make a game survive or fail. Because when somebody new comes into WoW and they drop into Orgrimmar and they've just finished their beginning quest
Or
and now
God
they're coming to the main
forbid,
city.
Stormwind.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
chill.
if we have our little party set up there, and they come over and they just try to figure out what's going on and start clicking things, and we talk to them, and they have questions and they ask us and we help them, and now they're a part of our guild, and hey, that helps us because we want achievements in our guild because that gives us cool things, and it helps them because now they have people they can do things with or ask questions.
Right.
That's what WoW has built. That's really special, and the other games, I feel like, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but in all the other MMOs I've played, I've not found that they've built that community where it's really easy to have a group of people that you kind of fall in with.
Yeah, so that means to the next question, though. What is unique about WoW in a way that you feel like you were brought into a community? Like, it can't simply be that it's just been along the longest, right? There's got to be something about the game.
It's the way that they've built the guild system and the benefits of being in a guild, and also the ease of access of guild stuff. That's really what's different, in my opinion.
I was going to say, I think it's because there's an element of silliness that makes it so that there's kind of a more accessibility thing going on.
God, that's
but it also has
true,
the
Chris.
seriousness. Yeah, like it's a very silly game.
And there's all these kinds of like Easter eggs and inside jokes and the fairs that go on. Like, it is really goofy, and there's something about that makes it feel okay to, like, I don't know, to goof around with
Try
your friends.
things
And try things.
And just have fun and goof off. And a lot of them are too serious. Like, so Arcade, I don't know if any of you played that when it launched.
Nope.
I was really excited about this game. I had been following it for a while. It was one of the MMOs that was really well known for a bit because it came out with a pirate MMO, which sounds like the best idea ever before anyone really jumped on a pirate bandwagon that hit for a minute.
A pirate bangwagon?
The pirate.
What you say?
Chill.
Dan, don't act like you've never been involved in one, like, awesome night of pirate bandwagon.
Pirate bandwagon.
Bandwagon.
That would side note. That would be a sweet ass band name. Put that on the list.
Actually.
Put that on the list of pirate bandwagon.
But I was really hyped for this game. I tried to play it opening night. Server crashes, of course. But when I finally get in and I make a character and the characters look great and this is going to be super fun, they're super customizable. I want to be a pirate. And there are two kind of factions in this. You can be good and law-abiding, or you can be a pirate and steal and mess shit up. And that was so exciting to me. And then what they did is the guild systems, there were like 2 very powerful guilds on every server. And if you weren't in those cool kids guilds, you couldn't play because of a lot of reasons, including this jury system they had. So if you did anything bad,
So it was like a kangaroo court.
Yeah, and you were caught, they would put you on trial immediately in front of these actual players. And if these players weren't in your guild, they were probably going to say that you are guilty, they don't care, and you're going to jail. And you were actually banned from playing the game for extended periods of time. Like, it was, you log in and you can't do anything. You were in jail.
In theory, that's really cool. In practice,
theory,
I can see how that could be really abused.
That would piss me off.
It was so abused,
heavily.
and there was no way to get around it. So if you weren't in the cool kid big guilds that would save you, you were constantly in jail. If you weren't, like, it was just such a punished system. There was no fun in being a pirate and getting a ship and going and doing these cool things. And it was an amazing idea and a terrible practice. But it's stuff like that where the community was so important, but it was also like a high school community where if you weren't popular, you weren't in.
You can't sit with us.
And WoW isn't like that. It's just like, there, even if you're not in the biggest, baddest, elitist, crazy, world first achieving guild,
If you're not in the Gamebrew Crew.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, obviously.
It's okay.
You find the cool kids, like us who are having parties in the middle of org, and you goof with them. Like, there's something for everybody.
Goof off. I've got a tiger that you can ride. It's like one of those tigers in a sandbox that you can.
Oh, man. One of my happiest days this past week was when I figured out that Dan could finally ride me. It was glorious.
That's true. I can ride Ian in WoW now. I can ride him so.
Wow, I'm learning so,
hard.
much today.
Because I can turn into like a friendly travel elk. And you can just,
is that what you call
friendly
it?
travel elk.
And you can just hop right down, and I'll
Just
take
get on
you.
the FTE,
I'll
you
take you
guys.
to town.
Does that
What kind
does
of
that
town?
ever work in a bar? Would you say that?
No,
It
you
hasn't
can't do it.
yet,
You can't
but
do
one
it
day.
inside. It doesn't work
I
inside.
feel like it
doesn't
would
work
for me.
inside. That's a
Give
good-
it a shot. People like me will be around, and they'll think that's amazing.
Last words, anybody? Anybody last words on if MMOs are built to fail?
No, they're built to try to work, but they're just not good at succeeding.
Yeah,
all the
Well, and
time.
I think we're past the time of the MMO. I mean, I think a lot of people have just given up trying to make MMOs because they see that like there's been so many that have failed that it's like, well, it's not worth doing this anymore. And it's like it's not the new genre of the
That's
year
right.
kind of
It's
thing.
not a it's not a roguelike it's not a roguelike arena battler, so you can't play it.
Or like an MMO first-person shooter or something
Yeah.
like that.
or an
Well,
MMO Minecraft.
I mean,
game.
but Destiny. I mean, like they
But it's not doing well.
right, but they're trying. They're trying to do different.
Forsaken's coming out tomorrow. We'll see. Forsaken is the
there's
maker.
a lot
by
of
the
people
moment.
who are
It
on a
looks like
hype
they
train
killed
again.
Cade, and I don't know.
Yeah,
if
but
I'm
come
okay
on,
with that.
he's not gonna stay dead forever.
You mean they didn't want to pay Nathan Fillion anymore?
No, they should pay Nathan Fillion. Nathan,
everyone
if
should
you're
pay
Nathan
listening to
Fillion.
this right now, I'm on your side.
You
Yeah.
pay Nathan Fillion? God, what if he listened to this?
Oh my God, Nathan Fillion.
I would
has to-
fangirl
I would
too
shit my
hard.
pants.
I think
Yo,
we'd
did
all
you-
be fangirling.
Yo, did you see
Yeah.
his like little fan
His
video
everything.
for
Nathan Drake?
the Nathan
Yes.
Drake thing? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, he's
Holy
so
shit.
perfect. Like he's
He's
the
amazing.
best.
He's
All
everything.
right,
Nathan
welcome
Fillion.
back. Now the Gamebrew Crew is done. Now welcome to the
the Nathan Fillion official
Nathan
fan
Fillion
club.
Appreciation Podcast.
All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Nathan, if you're listening, we love you.
We do.
Yes.
You're your biggest fan.
Say
You're
goodnight.
such a good human.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, Nathan Fillion.
Good night, Nathan Fillion.
Good night, Moon.
Dan, could you please say you are not prepared?
You are not prepared.
How should I say it?
You are not prepared.
I should say,
You are not prepared.
And then we can just slice that back
Thanks.
into the Illidan storm right
yeah, I didn't know.
You're
Like,
good.
I didn't know
You're good,
what
man.
that guy said.
You weren't prepared.
It's fine.
I was not prepared. I was not prepared.